verses for today, and its verses are from Acts chapter 22, verses 12 and 13. And this is part of a speech where Paul is defending himself before the political authorities, and he is describing his experience with the risen Christ on the road to Damascus and what happened afterwards. In verses 12 and 13, Paul states, "A certain Ananias, who was a devout man according to the law and well spoken of by all the Jews living there, came to me, and standing beside me he said, 'Brother Saul, regain your sight.' In that very hour I regained my sight and saw him." Several times in the book of Acts we hear about Paul's experience that changed his life and changed the future of Christianity and really the future of the world. And Paul will also relate in some of his letters also this life-altering experience. I want to focus in for a moment though on his mention of Ananias. Can you put yourself in the position of Ananias and understand that there is a person who was out arresting Christians, ravaging the church, who you know stood and watched as Stephen was stoned to death? And God comes to you, if you're Ananias, and says, "Hey, I want you to go see this guy called Saul because I've got a message I want you to give him." If you know the book of Acts, you know when Ananias was told this, he protested as if God didn't know who Saul was. And Ananias recites all the terrible things that Saul was doing to believers, and God says basically, "I know who he is and I know what I'm doing, and I want you to go and give him this message." So when Ananias hears how much Paul's going to have to suffer for the sake of the name of Christ, he gets up and goes. But notice how he calls Saul. He refers to him as Brother Saul. And he speaks the message. The scales fall from Paul's eyes, and he sees the world differently from then on. This passage is a really important one, I think, because we live in a day with so much division and so much polarization where we see people as the other and as the enemy. That's how Ananias felt about Saul. And often we need the intervention of God to remind us that we are each other's brothers and sisters. Keep that in mind and be open to who God may be wanting you to go to and to pray with and to share with.